All right, we are live for our weekly wake up. Hello, hello, beautiful humans. I probably should have posted in our app about this so that we feel like when we moved over from our app to our YouTube channel, a lot of people forget. So hopefully we get some good people on showing up. Today we are talking about the art of surrender. Fun, fun, fun. So welcome to the Weekly Wake Up. For those of you that have never joined us before, the Weekly Wake Up is all about waking and shaking and getting our true self up and out and alive so that we can really find happiness in this life. True happiness, not the fleeting happiness, not the perfect life that I think our world is always trying to make us think is happiness, but really that feeling where no matter what comes our way, we got this. And no matter what comes our way, we can find joy through it. So as you're hopping on, say hi. Let me know you're here. Let me know that you have joined us for some fun today. I have had a interesting morning so far. I literally right before this, and it's funny, I always think it's so funny how the universe works, like how the universe really works in terms of like, this morning I really wanted to talk about the art of surrender and like really, because really happiness is found on like the back end of our surrender. The full understanding and the meaning of this whole thing called life is found on the back end. Happiness, really, on the back end of our surrender. And I think surrender is something that's so hard for us to do as humans because surrender isn't about logic. Hello, Gail. It's not like I think we try to figure out how to surrender. And surrender doesn't work that way. Like it doesn't work. You can't figure out how to surrender. And it's funny because this weekend we traveled to Houston. I'm in Texas. I'm in South Texas, but we traveled up to Houston for my niece's graduation. And we were staying at their house. And my son, in the middle of the night, woke up with a really bad tummy ache. Hello, Anita. A really bad tummy ache. And all of us, truly, our ailments, our bodily ailments are very much manifestations of what's going on with us emotionally. Whether or not our world fully wants to believe that or not, it really is the truth. And he had just ended school and he's going from third to fourth grade. Now he's in Montessori. So when you're in Montessori, you actually go from the first through third classroom to the fourth through sixth classroom. So now he's going to be with fourth, fifth, and sixth graders. And he's somebody who doesn't like to often acknowledge his emotions, and he kind of just like lets them all build up. And then he like gets like a stomach ache or a fever and has all these emotions and they just come out. And I was, so he woke up with this tummy ache and I'm laying next to him and I'm like, and I say to him, just surrender to the emotions. Just surrender to whatever's in there. And he's like, Mom, how do I do that? How do I just surrender? Like, what does that even mean? And it was really funny because I think that that's like such a thing for us. Like, we know we need to just surrender. We know we need to just like, but like, it's something that's so hard for us. And so a lot of times when things happen in our lives, whether it be a physical ailment, whether it be something happening in our, in our world that is feeling frustrating and off, it's often here to help with the surrender. It's often here to help with the surrender. And we often want to try to fix it or do something. So my son, whenever he doesn't feel good, he loves to take showers and baths. So first he's like, can I take a shower? So he took a shower. He was on his second shower at this point. And so we're laying there and he's like, Mom, my stomach hurts so bad. I need to take another shower. And mind you, this is like midnight at night at like my in-laws' house, and he's like, I need to take another shower. Now, here's the thing. I knew he was trying to use the shower as a coping mechanism. And often when we are needing to surrender, when we're feeling stuck, when we're feeling off, when we're feeling like, you guys know it, right? When you just know, like, you feel off. We often try to cope. We're often trying to think the positive thought. We're often trying to, go for a run, go for a walk in nature, lay in the grass, take the shower like my son was. And often if we remove those things and actually look at the stuff that's frustrating us, it will help with the surrender. So eventually I told him, no more showers. And he was like, but I have to. And I was like, no more showers. And in telling him that he couldn't have his coping mechanism, he surrendered. He surrendered to the emotion that was in there. And he just started to cry and just cry and cry. And then he told me, Mom, I feel like I need to yell. And so I was like, okay, in your pillow, just yell. And so he started like screaming into his pillow. And he's like, and I need to hit something. And so he started to hit something. And he just had all this release. And I just kept saying, keep surrendering. And again, he asked me like, what's the surrender? I said, you're doing it. You're surrendering to your body. You're surrendering to the emotion. You're not letting your logic and your brain and anything detract you from this. You're just letting it out. You're surrendering. You're saying all the things you really need to say. And he was saying like, I don't feel safe and nothing's ever going to be good for me. And like, none of this is true. None of this is true. The surrender looks and I'm going to tell you a surrender story I just had a moment ago. The surrender never looks logical. The surrender never looks like it should. It's not this moment. Like, I feel like people think like surrender, and they're like, it's like this leaned back. I trust in God and the universe, and the birds chirp and the rainbow comes out, and you're like, I have surrendered. Like, that's not usually what surrender looks like. Surrender usually looks messy. It usually looks like you saying a whole bunch of things that part of your brain is being like, I know that that's not true, but it needs to come out. And so that's what he was saying. He was saying, I'm not safe and nothing's going to be good and everything's going to, like, he's like all this stuff. And I just kept saying to him, just surrender. Like, it's safe to surrender. It's safe to surrender. It's safe to surrender. And I was just rubbing his back. It's safe to surrender. It's safe to feel all of this, right? So yesterday, I was kind of having, I wouldn't say an off day, but like I could tell there was something. Like I could tell. And like it often starts with like my body where I just like feel really tired. And I felt like really tired. I felt kind of like brain foggy. And whenever my body just feels off, like I know that there are emotions that need to be processed. Now, the tricky thing sometimes is that we don't know what's there. Like, it wasn't like anything specifically was pissing me off. It wasn't like I was like in a bad mood. Like, life still seemed pretty fantastic to me, but like I could tell there was a little meh going on. Now, I think that our default, like I said with my son, is that we often try to shift it, change our mood, focus on something that feels better, try to like talk ourselves into, a good mood. I did all, I was like, I'm going to go lay in the grass. So I laid in the grass, grounding in, I did remove some tears. Like I tried to really ask myself, what am I not feeling? What am I not feeling? What's like really going on? Like what's really happening here? I tried to really just like let myself like feel, and it still just wasn't like, I didn't want to surrender. I didn't want to surrender to it. And sometimes we don't know why, right? Often, and this is a good little clue for you guys, often you can tell you're not, you can tell, at least for me, and a lot of people I've worked with, I can tell when I need to surrender, when I'm not surrendering, because I'm trying to look for a lot of answers outside of myself. Right? I'm trying to, what's going on astrologically? I'm like looking astrologically. Oh, it must be something. Oh, what's going on with this? Oh, maybe I need to listen to this. Maybe I need to do this. Like I'm trying to look for answers outside of myself. Maybe I need to book a call with my psychic, like all of these things. Like that's where I can tell I'm needing to surrender. And now I kind of know that, like, I'm on Instagram looking for motivation and stuff like that. And when I see that happening in my life, I often realize that I need to surrender. And so I'll often try to just talk. Like I'll often just try to sit down in front of my mirror and just say the things I really want to say. But sometimes that doesn't work either. But usually what's ending up working is usually something will happen in my life that just tips me off. That just tips me off. And so literally before I got on this call, I'm on the call with my CEO, Melissa, and we're looking at our ad stuff. And I don't know if any of you guys run Facebook ads, but the whole ads game is just a fascinating game. And it's almost like, I'm big into the whole manifestation and our energy, and you can create whatever you want kind of deal, right? And I wholeheartedly believe that. And I've wholeheartedly created magic in things. But when you plug in to very physical and very established systems, it's often hard to override their reality with yours. And this is something that I feel like people often don't get about creating your own reality and like manifesting. Like, I think a lot of times people think like, oh, well, if I create my own reality, then like if I want world peace, like world peace will happen. Or if I want this to happen here, this will happen. And yes, when you're often doing something that does not have a whole lot of infrastructure and physical, and it doesn't have its very own physical reality, yeah, you can create magic very easily. But a lot of times when you plug into a very established system and you want it to work how you want it to work, it's a little bit more challenging when it comes to creating with it. And sometimes it's actually easier to understand the system and kind of work with the already established rules of that system than trying to make your own rules, which you can 100% do. Like if you followed me for a long time and you're in our membership and you work with me, like, I'm 100% into creating my own rules, creating my own life, bucking the system and all of that. But when you plug into these different systems, it sometimes makes it harder to create your own rules because the reality and the rules created within that system are already so strong. And so a lot of times it's easier to pull out of them and create your own stuff. But like we want to use ads. Like we want to use ads. So our ads have been really interesting in that the ads are doing amazing. Like we're getting so many people in, like so many people are just flocking to our ads. We have like, all Facebook is just like, oh my God, your ads are like just killing it in terms of like the cost per lead and people coming in. Like they're just great, but we're not converting at the rate we want sales side, like, right? Like it's like we have all these people coming in, great stats on the front end, but like in the back end, like we're like, what the hell? But then like when we do like a live event, we like convert like crazy, but it's like, but with these ads, it's like, it's not converting. And so I get on the call with Melissa and I'm actually like, I'm not in a bad mood by any means, but like I still have that little bit of stuckness going on. And we start going through the ad stuff and I start just being like, I just start feeling like, right? And I'm kind of just talking through about it and about it and da da da. And I'm trying, like, I can feel myself wanting to cry. I can feel myself getting upset. I can feel myself wanting to have like a grown up temper tantrum. Now, sometimes in these situations, like just pausing for a moment when you feel that way and say, like, I need a minute, and like going and getting it all out is helpful. But sometimes when you're with a person, and this is why, like, I love our Happy Human membership, and I love the ability for people to be able to book one-on-one calls for like such a cheap rate, is because sometimes you need that other person that you can just like be ridiculous and rant with, and they can kind of push back to you so that you can finally get it out. And so basically, like, I started saying to her, like, I'm just so sick of this. Like, I'm so sick of like pumping the money into this machine and it not getting us the results we want. Like, what are we missing? Like, what are we not doing? Like, I'm just so sick of looking at these analytics. Like, I don't even want to look at these analytics anymore. And she's like, so you don't want to look at the analytics of our ads anymore? And that pissed me off. And I was like, well, no, I don't mean like, I'm not, I'm just like, I could just tell like I was irritated, and she just kept poking me. Like, you could tell she could tell. And these are why it's like great to have people in your life that you can be really real and raw with. And she just kept poking me into surrender. Like, I just didn't want to surrender. I didn't want to surrender. Until finally, I just started crying. And I was like, I just don't understand why they're not working. Now, what's interesting is, and this is why I love this work and this understanding of emotions and this understanding of surrender, is because when the universe or God or whoever it is you pray to is asking you to surrender, or you're asking yourself to surrender, there's an evolutionary moment. Surrender is all about evolving. Surrender is all about surrendering to the emotion so that you can learn and grow, so that you can get closer to having all the experiences that you want in this world. So that happiness, remember, happiness is in the back end of surrender. Like, I feel great now. I do know there's a little bit more that I need to process because I needed to pull it together so I could come join you guys here. Like, I was like, okay, I need to like pull myself together. I need to come do this and talk to you guys. And then I'm going to go process this. But what's really interesting, and this is why it's so important when you surrender, to truly surrender, to not hold back. Surrendering is about like just not holding back, you guys, like not holding back. And I was saying all the things, and it's funny because Melissa, who I was talking to, you know, she does this work with me. She's part of this world. And so she knows not to logic away. What often we want to do is when we surrender, people want to logic away. They're like, well, that's not true. That because it isn't. Like, I'm sitting here saying, like, it's just not working and I just don't understand and which like isn't true. Like, even now I'm far enough to move to it to be like, well, no, like, it's working. We just have like some tweaks, like ads just like take a minute. Like, but I was like, what? I just need a break from the universe. Like, why is this so hard? Why is everything we're doing like, you know, like, I'm just like all this pent up kind of stuff that's been in me. And so, and honestly, some of it from like, you know, a year ago. And then what comes out of my mouth is this line, which is, I'm not asking for that much. Why won't you give it to me? And I just start sobbing at this point. And I'm like, oh my God. It makes me emotional right now, even thinking of that line. Like, I could like start sobbing again. I'm not asking for that much. Why won't you give it to me? And I realized, like, wow, this is like the core thing. And this is why I love the rapid relief technique. If you're on here and you're new and you don't know the rapid relief technique, go to our website, human.com, and do the rapid relief accelerator course. And on there, it'll teach our proprietary method with the tapping so that you can get to that core, which is where we want to get. When we're surrendering, we're being asked to surrender to something bigger than bigger than us in the moment. We're being asked to surrender to something that we have not processed or understood in our past, that we need to process because it's keeping us from our happiness. It's keeping us from our joy. It's keeping us from our ability to see this world in the goodness and the beauty that it is. You know, we want everything to just be perfect and easy and all of these things. And I think sometimes we forget that Like, all parts of life are actually perfect and easy. Like, all of it is. Like, all of it is part of your path. All of it is part of your experience. All of it is what you came here for. And you can't see that until you're on the back end of surrender. Because prior to surrendering, you just feel off and icky and frustrated and annoyed and bleh. And it's not until you allow yourself to truly just let go, to be in that space of if it's yelling, if it's screaming, if it's hitting something like my son needed to do, then you can really see on the other side, oh, it's actually okay. Actually, it's better than okay. Actually, it's beautiful. Even really shit things that happen. And I've had some real shit things happen to me. And it's not until I surrendered to the lesson that I was able to see the joy on the back end of the surrender, because that's where it is. Being human is about experiences. Being human is about expansion. Being human is about going through this earth and this world and feeling and loving and learning and growing. And all of it is fantastic. It's just we've been told some of it isn't. Right? We've been told that the whole point of this place is to get like rich and successful. Well, maybe. I think that part of that is it. Like, I think having money at hand is very important. I think it's very important. It's hard to be fully expressed without money. But I also think that we tend to not always listen to the surrender. And money is one of the best ways for the universe to get us to surrender. It's one of the best ways. But we're often taught to like focus on the positive and stay this. And, it's kind of like, I'm going to use a really weird analogy, but it's kind of like alcohol in my life. Like, a lot of people drink when they're feeling stressed or having anxiety and all of that. I will never drink in a funk. If I'm feeling funky, if I'm feeling sad, if I'm feeling off, I will never drink, because that's a coping mechanism then. I will only drink to amplify the fun or the celebration. Like, that's like my motto with alcohol. Like, okay, we're having a fun time. Sure, I'll have a drink. If I'm feeling like off or icky, it's like, no, I'm not going to, because that's just gonna they don't work together. They don't work together at all. And that's often like the positive thinking stuff, is like positive thinking and working on creation and amplification of your goals and dreams is amazing. But if you're doing it when you're feeling off and stuck, it's a coping mechanism. It's like drinking when you feel bad. It's like, trying to do something. It's like my son taking a shower when you really just need to surrender. And so the positive thinking is fantastic, but the whole world tells us like that's the thing. But it's not the thing. It's part of the thing. If we're not surrendering first, if we're not evolving past whatever it is there, then there's always going to be a disconnect between the positive and who we really are, that deep set of beliefs. There's going to be a mismatch. There's going to be a mismatch. And so we got to surrender, and we got to get to the place where we're now feeling the relief. We're feeling the joy. We're on the back end of the surrender. And then that's when the magic portals kind of open. That's when it's like, yes, the gratitude drops in, the joy, you see the world through different eyes. And that's now when we create. That's now when we start to really light up and get into that, like, yes, this can happen for me. This can finally happen. Amanda says, this makes so much sense. I feel like the universe is throwing so much at me. I'm just kind of watching it with annoyance, but not getting into the hard emotions. Exactly. And that's kind of what I was doing. And the thing too, guys, that I think gets hard also for some of you that are here that maybe have been in this work with me for a while is like, my life's really good. Like, it's really good. And this is where I very much teach, pay attention to the little things. If you pay attention to the little things and you stop trying to shift the energy around the little things, then big, huge honking disasters won't come your way. But that's a hard thing to learn how to do, you guys. It's so hard. It's so hard for me to have a meltdown with my CEO on a call over one freaking Facebook ad that just isn't converting like I think it should. Oh, did I mention I'm about to go to Disney World tomorrow? We just had an amazing vacation in Houston. We just did a great live launch and had success with that. And here I am throwing an adult temper tantrum. So I'm like, it's not working. We should be converting higher. Why is the world never working for me? Why does nothing good ever happen to me? I'm asking for barely anything. And that was the core of it. I got to this place of, like I said, which still is bringing up emotions. I'm not asking for that much. Why can't you give it to me? Like I'm telling you guys, like I'm going to get off this weekly wake up with you all. And I'm going to be like, I'm going to go right into that because there is something there. And we don't pay attention to the little things because, like Wendy said, it's that ungratefulness. Like you should be grateful. You shouldn't be upset about these little things. But it's not actually the little thing that's the thing. It's not that, your kid not getting out of the pool when you ask them to the first time is the thing. It's actually this other thing that I don't even know what this is, but I can tell just from my body and just from like my feelings that this whole I don't ask for much, why won't you give it to me thing is a big thing. Like I can feel it in my body. And so whatever I'm asking for, whatever I'm trying to create in my life, obviously isn't happening because this thing's rattling around in there. And remember, I'm trying to say the positive things, but there's this disconnect between what's actually going on and what I'm actually trying to create. And I need to get them into alignment. I need to go surrender. I need to go surrender. And I know, I get it. It's hard for us. It's hard for us to look at all these little annoying things and think, I shouldn't be annoyed with this. I shouldn't be annoyed with this. Yes, you should. It's teaching you something. It's showing you something. Use it. Use it. Use it to surrender. Use it to allow yourself to surrender. So when you get to that portal on the back end of surrender, it's like the magic portal. After you surrender, and I know if you guys have done this work and you do the rapid relief technique, and like I said, if you don't, go onto our website, human.com and do the accelerator course. On the back end of that release, that is the magic. That's where, and this is where I teach in our membership and in our courses, this is where you anchor in. This is where the new belief systems need to be created because you've created, this is like the magic portal has opened up. And now it's time. So, I love you guys. And if any of you are feeling stuck in right now, go see what the thing that's bothering you the most in your life and start using it. Start using it. See what's really there and start to get some emotions. If you can't move the emotions, like I said, go talk to someone. Sometimes just venting. And if someone's not used to this, just say, I just need to say all of these things. Can you just be a witness? Or go book a call with one of our practitioners and just say, I just got to talk all of this out. Will you poke me? Right? I love to have people in my life that aren't scared to just be real with me and not placate me and not try to make me feel better, right? A lot of people in your life are just going to try to make you feel better. You're going to come at them with all of this stuff, and they're just going to try to help logic away why you should not be feeling that instead of really pushing you into feeling. You got to find people like that in your life. And if you haven't, that's where our membership is so great, because post in there, we'll poke you. We'll say, well, what about this? Well, what about this? So that you can finally start getting that stuff out of your body that needs to come out, so that we can get kind of to that magic portal on the back end of surrender that feels really good and allows us to really create what we want. All right, beautiful humans. I hope we woke you up a little bit to surrender today. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your Wednesday. My kid was annoying me so much with the whining yesterday. I went and tapped on the script on rebirth. Yep, that's a good one. And had a good cry. Yep. And then remember, after that cry, then guys, sit down and create that safety with yourself. Safety. The safety of what you want is possible. What you get to have, you get to have. Yep. All right, beautiful humans. I love you. You're amazing. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you back here next week. For those of you in our membership, I will see you tomorrow for our daily dose. And yeah, all right. Bye. Mwah.